There is a question that almost everyone asks at some point in life. When will things finally change? Maybe you're waiting for the perfect opportunity. Maybe you're hoping for better health. Maybe you're praying for financial freedom. Or perhaps you're simply longing for peace. Most people believe that change begins the moment circumstances improve. But what if that isn't true? What if the life you've been searching for isn't waiting somewhere far ahead? What if it already exists, and the only thing separating you from it is the identity you've been choosing to live from? Tonight, I invite you to explore a different possibility. For the next few minutes, set aside everything your eyes can see. Forget the current bank balance. Forget yesterday's disappointments. Forget the opinions of other people. Forget the evidence that tells you nothing has changed. Because the greatest transformations never begin in the visible world. They begin in silence. They begin within. There is an ancient principle repeated across many spiritual traditions. It says that the inner world always comes first. The unseen shapes the seen. The invisible gives birth to the visible. Yet most of us have spent our lives believing the opposite. We wake up every morning and allow circumstances to decide how we feel. If life looks good, we feel hopeful. If life looks difficult, we lose faith. Without realizing it, we've handed our emotional life over to temporary conditions. But imagine if you stop doing that. Imagine waking tomorrow already feeling grateful before anything changes. Imagine carrying confidence before success appears. Imagine feeling loved before anyone tells you that you are. Imagine experiencing peace before every problem has disappeared. Wouldn't you move differently? Wouldn't you speak differently? Wouldn't you make different decisions? That is where true transformation begins. Not after reality changes, but before. Most people spend years trying to fix the reflection while ignoring the mirror. They work harder. They worry more. They search endlessly for the perfect strategy. Yet the deepest shift happens long before action. It begins when you quietly decide, from this moment forward, I will become the version of myself who already lives the life I desire. This isn't pretending. It isn't denying reality. It isn't wishful thinking. It's choosing a new identity before the evidence appears. Because every meaningful creation follows the same pattern. An architect sees the building before the first brick is laid. A musician hears the melody before anyone else does. A writer imagines the story long before readers hold the finished book. Everything is created twice, first in consciousness, then in the physical world. Your life follows exactly the same principle. The future you've been longing for begins as an inner experience. Only afterward does it become an outer one. The challenge is that the mind wants proof before belief. But creation asks for belief before proof. That single reversal changes everything. When you stop asking reality for permission to become your future self, you begin living from the end. And that changes the way you think, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you interpret every challenge. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, who am I choosing to become? That question opens an entirely different path. Because identity is the silent force behind every decision you make. A confident person and an insecure person may face the same opportunity, yet experience completely different lives. Not because the opportunity changed, because their identity changed. Your identity determines what feels natural, and what feels natural eventually becomes your reality. This is why today's message is not about chasing dreams. It's about becoming the person those dreams naturally belong to. If you stay with me until the very end, you'll discover why waiting for evidence often delays the very life you desire, and why learning to live from the end may be one of the most peaceful, freeing shifts you ever make. Because the moment your inner world changes, your outer world quietly begins catching up. So what does it actually mean to live from the end? At first, the phrase sounds mysterious. Many people hear it and assume it means pretending that problems don't exist or forcing themselves to be positive no matter what happens. But that isn't what it means at all. Living from the end is not about escaping reality. It's about choosing which reality deserves your attention. Think about a traveler who already knows the destination. They don't spend every mile wondering if they'll arrive. They simply continue the journey with confidence because the destination has already been decided. Their attention isn't trapped by every turn in the road. It's anchored in where they're going. Your inner life works in exactly the same way. Most people live from the middle. They constantly measure the distance between themselves and what they want. Every morning begins with another reminder of what's missing, another comparison, another reason to doubt, another search for evidence that things are finally improving. Without realizing it, they rehearse the identity of someone who is still waiting. And life faithfully mirrors that waiting. The more they ask, when will it happen? The longer they remain emotionally connected to the version of themselves who doesn't have it yet. But there is another path. Instead of living as the person who is trying to become successful, live as the person who already believes success belongs to them. Instead of identifying as someone searching for love, begin seeing yourself as someone who is already worthy of love. Instead of thinking like someone struggling to become peaceful, allow yourself to think from the perspective of someone who has already found peace. Notice the difference. One identity reaches. The other rests. One constantly chases. The other quietly receives. Imagine two artists standing before identical blank canvases. The first artist is overwhelmed. They worry about making mistakes. They hesitate with every brushstroke. Their attention is fixed on failure before the painting has even begun. The second artist approaches the same canvas differently. In their mind, the masterpiece already exists. They simply allow it to appear one stroke at a time. The canvas is the same. The paint is the same. But the inner state is completely different, and that difference changes everything. Life responds in much the same way. Your external circumstances often reflect the identity you've accepted within. If you believe you're always behind, life will continue presenting experiences that reinforce that feeling. If you believe you're always running out of time, you'll constantly notice reasons to hurry. If you believe opportunities are rare, you'll unconsciously overlook the ones standing right in front of you. But when your inner story changes, your perception changes. And when perception changes, your choices begin changing too. You notice possibilities that were invisible before. You respond with calm instead of fear. You carry yourself with quiet confidence instead of hesitation. The remarkable part is that nothing outside may have changed yet. The transformation begins long before anyone else can see it. It's like sunrise. Before the first rays appear over the horizon, the earth has already begun turning toward the light. The visible dawn is simply catching up with a change that happened earlier. Your life often unfolds the same way. The visible world takes time to reflect what has already shifted inside you. This is why patience becomes so powerful. Not because you're waiting helplessly, but because you understand that unseen movement is already taking place. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight, yet from the moment it's planted, life is already unfolding beneath the surface. You don't dig it up every morning to check whether it's growing. You water it. You protect it. You trust the process. The same principle applies to your assumptions. Every time you return to the feeling that your desired life is already becoming your natural reality, you strengthen that inner seed. Every moment you choose confidence over fear, gratitude over frustration, trust over panic, you nourish a new identity. Eventually, that identity becomes familiar, and what feels familiar begins expressing itself through your words, your decisions, your habits, and your relationships. This is why living from the end is not about forcing outcomes. It is about becoming someone different on the inside. Because once the inner transformation becomes natural, the outer transformation has a foundation to grow from. You no longer need constant reassurance. You stop checking every hour to see if life has changed. You stop measuring your future by today's circumstances. Instead, you begin measuring today's circumstances by the future you've already accepted within. That single shift creates extraordinary peace. Because your confidence no longer depends on temporary appearances. It comes from something much deeper. A quiet knowing that who you are becoming is already shaping the life ahead of you. And once you truly understand this, you stop chasing the future. You begin living from it. That is the true meaning of living from the end. And it is one of the most liberating choices you can ever make. As we come to the end of this journey together, take one slow, deep breath. Allow everything you've heard today to settle, not just in your mind, but in your heart. Because this message was never about learning another technique. It was about remembering a different way to live. For so long, many of us have believed that life happens to us. We have waited for circumstances to improve before allowing ourselves to feel hopeful. We have searched for signs before believing our dreams were possible. We have asked the outside world to tell us who we are. But today, you have been invited to reverse that pattern. You have discovered that lasting change begins from within. Not because the outer world doesn't matter, but because the outer world often reflects the inner one. The version of yourself you've been waiting to become is not waiting somewhere in the future. It exists as a possibility that begins with the choices you make today, the thoughts you repeat, the emotions you nurture, the conversations you have with yourself when no one else is listening. Every moment is an opportunity to choose again, not with pressure, not with perfection, but with quiet awareness. When doubt appears, gently return to your chosen vision. When fear whispers that nothing is changing, remember that many of life's greatest transformations begin long before they become visible, just as dawn quietly approaches before the sun rises. Your next chapter may already be unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Trust the process. Trust your growth. Trust the person you are becoming. And above all, remember this. You don't have to become perfect to create a meaningful life. You simply have to become intentional. Live each day from the qualities you wish to experience. If you desire peace, choose peaceful thoughts whenever you can. If you desire confidence, practice acting with courage, even in small moments. If you desire love, become someone who gives kindness freely to others and to yourself. If you desire abundance, cultivate gratitude for what already exists while remaining open to new opportunities. These are not acts of pretending. They are acts of becoming. Because every meaningful transformation begins long before anyone else notices it. One decision, one new belief, one different response, repeated consistently over time. Never underestimate the quiet power of a changed mind. It has redirected careers, healed relationships, inspired great works of art, built businesses. They are acts of becoming. Because every meaningful transformation begins long before anyone else notices it. One decision, one new belief, one different response, repeated consistently over time. Never underestimate the quiet power of a changed mind. It has redirected careers, healed relationships, inspired great works of art, built businesses, strengthened families, and transformed ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Perhaps the greatest freedom of all is realizing that your future does not have to be dictated by your past. Yesterday may have shaped you, but it does not have to define you. Every sunrise offers a new beginning. Every breath offers another chance. Every thought plants another seed. Choose those seeds carefully. Water them with patience. Protect them with faith, and allow time to do its quiet work. One day, you may look back and realize that what once felt impossible became your everyday reality, not because life suddenly changed overnight, but because you did. because you chose a different story, a different identity, a different way of seeing yourself and the world. And from that inner shift, everything else gradually followed. So as you leave this video today, carry one simple reminder with you. Don't wait for the future to give you permission to become the person you were created to be. Begin today. Think from your highest self. Speak from your highest self. Act from your highest self. And let each small choice move you closer to the life you wish to create. Thank you for spending these moments with me, here in a stress-free zone. If this message brought you peace, clarity, or hope, consider sharing it with someone who may need these words today. And if you'd like more calming reflections on mindset, personal growth, and creating a peaceful life, subscribe and join our growing community. Until we meet again, be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Keep believing in your growth. And remember, the most powerful changes are often the ones that begin quietly within. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.